Hello and welcome to today's Wired briefing, why the future of the supply chain needs to be digital. I'm Greg Williams, the Deputy Global Editorial Director of Wired. And in today's briefing, we're going to explore why the supply chain and logistics industry needs to embrace digitization, the trends and technologies driving this change, and what the future of this sector is going to look like. We'll also be examining some of the key themes uncovered in a recent ebook by Wired Consulting and Maersk on the future of the supply chain. We're currently in something of a supply chain perfect storm. Unprecedented environmental events, geopolitical tensions, and of course, the COVID pandemic have resulted in wide-ranging shortages, delays, and disruptions, which has highlighted the importance of these global networks and also their fragility. 8 global supply chains account for more than 50% of annual greenhouse gas emissions. All this means is that it's more important than ever that the industry embraces digital transformation, digital talent, and emerging technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence to create a more connected, resilient, and sustainable supply chain. To discuss this and more, I'm excited to welcome Rotem Hershko, Maersk's Senior VP and Head of Business Platforms. With over 20 years of experience in digital transformation, Rotem leads Maersk's global product digitization and is spearheading the company's digital journey to become the global integrator of container logistics. Rotem, welcome. Great to have you with us here today.
Thank you so much, Greg. Very excited to be part of this interview.
Great. So I think what would be useful just at the outset is to sort of think about some context and maybe the history around the supply chain. So we've obviously seen in recent years, supply chains have experienced extreme disruption. This is still happening with things like computer chips. Can you talk us a little bit through some of these disruptions and the problems really that they've brought to light?
Yes, of course. So if you think about the way the supply chain or the logistics industry has been built over the last many years, one thing that is really in common for many of the major players in this industry is that the way we serve our customers and the way we operate our back-end systems and infrastructure is very manual. And I'll give you a few examples just to make sure that, to make it a little bit more real. And so if you're a customer of one of the big supply chain or logistic companies, the way you interact with the company, the way you go from registration to contracting, to booking, to pricing, to post-purchase experience, the way we send you notification, more often than not, everything about these transactions is manual, is being done over the phone, is being done via Outlook. We send you sometimes some Excel files, really manual. And not only that, the way we at the back end, the way we manage the supply chain, the way we stitch the solution, the way we work on different contingency plans, it's also manual. And so we have thousands of associates and employees, leaders around the world that are trying to do the best they can to hold the network together. But whatever disruption happens, and the disruption could be a global pandemic or a war, or anything else that puts some stress on this fragile system, we see what happens. And we see that it's much harder for us to serve the customers in the right way. It's much harder for us to treat them well. It's much harder for us to hit the promises that we give them. And so the common denominator for the opportunities and the challenges that we see is the manual way we operate. The byproduct of manual is also the lack of access to data. If you can just think about it, if I call you and let you know about a slip or a box that's going to be late to you, it's really hard for us as a company to translate this interaction to reach real-time and comprehensive data. And since lots of the transaction, the internal transaction, the external transaction are being done manually, we're lacking the data. We're lacking the rich data, the comprehensive data that we need to make in order to optimize our solutions, in order to work the right contingency plan. So manual is the byproduct of manual is a lack of data. And the byproduct of lack of data is sometimes manual decisions that are happening with the best intentions, but without the best possible outcomes. All of that, I believe, is making it harder for us to serve customers. And the challenges that we have observed over the last 2 years, but even before, are just emphasizing the lack of automation and digitization in the supply chain industry.
So the lack of automation and digitalization seem to be core to this. But I'm interested to think, like, why the industry is a little bit late to this. Like, clearly, so many other industries have embarked on their digitalization journey and they've really transformed. Why do you think the sector is a little bit late to coming to this?
Yeah, so I believe the digitization journey is already started. So it's not a new thing for a company like Maersk. We have been investing in technology for many years, but to put technology front and center, to state that technology is the future of our company and the future of our ability to serve customers in a more comprehensive way, is a decision that requires a lot of commitment all the way from the shareholders, from the board, from the executive leadership team. It requires a lot of long-term thinking. Lots of the investment that we have been putting in the last couple of years will see the fruits only in the years to come. The way we modernize our infrastructure, the way we're moving to the cloud, the way that we're deploying now new microservices, all of that is investment for the long term, and you need to have the appetite for long-term thinking. And then it also requires some risk taking. Companies like Maersk have been doing very well for so many years. And so changing dramatically the way you operate, the way you deploy your resources, the way you invest, the way you attract the right talent requires some risk taking. And I think that the combination of lack of or resistance for change, the need to see results here and now is maybe standing between some of the players in the industry and real digitization and transformation. I can tell you, as somebody that is driving the change right now, it's not an easy change. We are fully committed. We see already the results. We're getting really good feedback from customers, but it's not the easiest way to go about.
Sure. I mean, but you have described that you're on this journey, and you really are sort of like trying to be at the heart of transforming supply chains. So maybe it'd be interesting for you just to kind of explain, what have you learned during this process, and also anything that surprised you, anything that's maybe sort of not something you had expected.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I learned that is really important for us, and I believe it may be important for any company that would like to transform and to become more digital, is the need for digital native talent. The supply chain or the logistics industry may not be the first place for the best engineers or the best digital product managers to go and build their career. And to be honest, we as an industry weren't looking after this talent traditionally. But with the effort that Maersk has put over the last 12 or 18 months, and with the hundreds of new employees, engineers, digital product managers that we were able to attract all the way from Silicon Valley and the best tech companies in the world, we see the difference, we see the change. And so my biggest aha moment and my biggest learning in that journey so far is the need for the best talent in the industry. And we're very focusing on that, and we're very emphasizing the need for the best talent to be able to serve our customers in a more comprehensive way.
Sure. I mean, I think that's obviously the basic really is talent, right? And humanizing and making things, I guess, customer centric. So give us a sense of if another organization, you were advising them and they're embarking on the process, what do you think the key foundations are that they need to get in place?
Yeah, so the first and foremost is they need to have commitment. They need to have strong commitment across the different players in the organization in order to embark on such a dramatic and robust digitization journey that is not easy. So that's first. Once they have the commitment that they're willing, as we discussed before, willing to take the risks and willing to invest for the long term, it's about having the right talent in the organization that can drive digital native discussions, that can drive tech operational excellence, that can focus on the customer front and center. And I think with all these ingredients, there is a lot of try and error. There is not specific prescription to exactly what needs to happen and what's the right way to go about modernizing such a large tech legacy and such a large tech infrastructure that is supporting these big companies. And so trial and error, what we're doing a lot with our customers, we're listening to them, we're deploying a new solution, listening to the data and trying to see what's the best way to tweak the mobile app, what's the best way to tweak our Maersk.com application. And that's the try and error is really important for companies that are looking to embark on such a dramatic journey.
So I'm really interested to get your sense, Rotem, of clearly digitalization means that we have to think about technologies and other industries maybe that have kind of been through this process, such as e-commerce. So give us a sense, first of all, about which emerging technologies you think are going to have the most transformative role in the supply chains of tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that the main component that we are aspiring to go after, and that is the most important in my mind at least, is data. We are investing tremendously in order to better connect our vendors and customers and different players in the industry, so we can all have access to real-time, rich, and comprehensive data. So data for me is the name of the most important component that we are aspiring to enrich. And not only data, it's also actionable data. When you have so many different billions of data points, sometimes you get lost. And so you need to apply the right logic. You need to write the right software in order to make the right judgment, the right decision, the right proactive communication to ourselves and to our customers, leveraging the data. And I believe that once we have access to the right data, and once we build the right mechanisms, infrastructure, software, logic, technology to take this data and serve customers in a more comprehensive way, that's for me the front and center of the technology evolution and the technology investment that we're going after. Of course, there are many angles to this story. I'll give you just one more example. We're investing tremendously in Internet of Things, IoT. We're putting sensors in containers, in terminals, in ports, on the ships, on the different warehouses. And we're doing that exactly of the same reason. We're looking to get more data, more accurate data, more real-time data. We're trying to put our analytics on top of the data so we can react better to changes, serve customers in a more comprehensive way, and stitch the right solution for them. So data, data, and data. For me, that's the top priority.
See, super interesting answer as well, because so many executives, when they start talking about digital transformation, they start talking about AI and the blockchain and today the metaverse, obviously. Any other emerging technologies you think in the world of supply chains that you just think are overhyped? Maybe, there's too much emphasis being placed on them?
I'm not sure about what overhyped, but I can tell you, just because you just mentioned blockchain, blockchain is also an important element, and we are investing in a company named TradeLens to digitize the documents that are part of the supply chain. If you can just imagine how many physical documents and invoices and bill of lading documents need to be transferred when a box leaves China and needs to get to the US, we believe that these manual transaction and manual documentation is a big and real opportunity for us to digitize and to streamline the way we serve customers. And so we're leveraging blockchain as a way to enable digital transaction and digital transformation of documents. And we believe that's another important trend that will help us digitize this industry overall.
And the digitization has occurred in many industries over the last 10 years. I'm just wondering, is there any other industry that you look towards for inspiration?
Yeah, I think that you mentioned before e-commerce, which is also resonance a little bit with my previous life before coming to Maersk. The way we imagine, the best way to serve customers, and we are listening to customers and meeting personally with customers almost every week. It's about the shift from a B2B way of operating with our customers to a B2C way of operating. And I think the pandemic that sent so many different players in the industry to work from home just made that transition more front and center and more important. Because the same lady that is driving supply chain for a Fortune 500 company, she's also interacting with her bank over her mobile application. She's also interacting with her insurance company. She's also, booking or ordering food. She's doing everything digitally. She's doing everything on her mobile application. And there's no need for her, when she wants a supply chain solution, she needs to go and send an email or even send a fax or pick up the phone. And so the transition from a B2B way of interacting to a B2C that is digital, self-service, automatic, real-time, that's the shift that we are aspiring to. We're taking a lot of inspiration from company in the e-commerce industry that have been able to improve the way customers are interacting with them every day. And that's part of the journey that we're taking.
So let's move on maybe to have a quick look at sort of some of the benefits of the work that you're doing around digitization. Clearly, sustainability is on everyone's mind at the moment. I'm intrigued to get your thoughts, Rotem, about which tech or new approach do you think could have the biggest sort of immediate impact in reducing the carbon footprint of an industry that quite honestly has a really significant carbon footprint across the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. And also, we probably know how much committed are we for green technology and zero carbon emission. The strategy or the way we think about it has three different components. There is the physical components of you probably heard that we order 3 large container ships that are going to hit our ports in the first quarter of 2024 that will be able to leverage green fuels and green technologies. We're investing tremendously in our warehouses that are becoming zero emission warehouses. We're investing in different ways of tracking and electric vehicles and doing a lot in the physical world to be able to control and be more focused on green and zero emission. So that's one component. The other component, which we touched a little bit before from a different angle, is how we can translate the physical world to a digital world, what we call a digital twin. And we're investing a lot, for example, as I mentioned before, in IoT, so we can get real-time understanding, notification, and real-time translation of the physical world into a digital world. And then the third component, which is pure software component, where we are taking and listening to the data that we're getting from the physical world through IoT and through different channels, and then applying the right machine learning technologies, AI models, so we can better plan our network. We can better optimize the contingency plan for the customers. We can better notify them when something happens. And so we're working on the physical element, the IoT element, and the digital element. We're connecting all these dots together so we can reduce the emission that we have and also serve our customers in a better way.
So I opened the session today by talking a little bit about clearly the sort of like disruptions that have occurred over the last 2 or 3 years in the world of supply chains. And clearly that's all come about because of big, geopolitical challenges that we faced. The economies of particularly in the West, the manufacturing industry in particular, has offshored so much of its work over the last few years and has based itself on this just-in-time model. I'm just really intrigued to get your thoughts. If maybe you think we're coming to the end of this sort of just-in-time era, do we need to really just rethink the very nature of supply chains and how they work?
Yeah, that's another great question. I can tell you that for us as Maersk, our goal is to serve customers in the best way possible so they can make their decisions. Obviously, today, with so much of the industry is late, for so much of the promises that are being given to customers are not being fulfilled. So there's so much disruption, so many ships that are stuck in front of Los Angeles, or so many tracking opportunities that are happening across the European continent. All of that is pushing customers to make different decisions about where they need to position their inventory or how do they need to think about manufacturing. But we want to let customers choose, and we want to be able to give them the right data, the right predictability, the right projection, so they can look at all of these different components, of course, listening to the way we proactively can recommend, but at the end of the day, make the right decisions. And we'll be here to serve them with the right information, the right data, so they can make better decisions for their end customers. That's how we think about it.
So it's wide. So we have to think about what's coming next. And I'd love to kind of get your kind of crystal ball out, if you don't mind, Rotem, and look forward. Give us a sense in your perspective, like look forward 10 years maybe. How do you think the world of logistics is going to be most noticeably different from how it is today?
I think that the biggest change, and that's where we put our biggest effort and already see some great evidence for this effort with our customers today, is about digitization and automation. we believe that in 5 to 10 years from now, the way you're going to interact with logistics companies is going to be in a self-service way, it's going to be in a digital way, it's going to be in an automatic way. We'll be able to stitch the right solutions for you. We'll be able to give the right data that you may need. We'll be able, in some cases, make the best decision, objective decision on your behalf if you would allow us to do it. It's going to be working in a different sphere. It's going to be working in a digital sphere. And we're very excited about this journey and are very committed to take that and make it reality.
Well, Rotem, we're out of time, but thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today. It's a really fascinating topic, and it's one that affects all of us. So I'm sure that people who joined us today are going to be fascinated to get your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this session, please do check out our latest Wired and Maersk report on the future of supply chains. You can download it at wired.co.uk. Rotem, thank you again, and thank all of you for joining us, and we will see you soon.